to Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go.
Hello.
Hey.
Well, this is going to be an episode just about passion profiles, which is kind of exciting. And I think it's going to be really useful. Questions to ask yourself. I don't know what I'm actually going to call this episode, but questions to ask yourself when you're maybe looking for a job or you're not sure whether you should take one, potentially, based on your passion profile.
Rachel and I have said it all the time. We love a good philosophical debate. We love to talk about higher level feelings and thoughts and concepts. But at the end of the day, we like being able to put your insights into action. And this is one of those episodes that you can put into action right away. This is like a what to actually do to get yourself into a job that's going to be way better aligned with who you are.
And or some of these questions might work if you're looking for ways to make your current job a better fit for how you're wired.
Absolutely. You can apply them to how can I apply these questions to changes I could make without even having to move jobs. But especially if you've been job searching, you want to make sure you're asking yourself these questions based on your profile.
And we'll get into it in a second, but the reason that we are doing this today is because we are midway through our relaunch celebration. I don't know, I guess that's what we're calling it, of the Passion Profile short course, which is going to be $300 off for the next week until next Friday, which is a lot of money off. I don't think I will ever offer that money off again, to be honest. It's a celebration.
And we have put a lot of work into revamping the short course to be all of our latest thoughts on passion profiles, how to use them, how to figure out if you have a secondary profile. There's so much that goes into this, and there's so much that we have learned about it. Even though we came up with it, we've still been constantly learning more and more about the profiles and how they show up and how to use them in the most effective ways. And so we decided we need to redo the course. We need to give you all of our most up-to-date takes on everything having to do with passion profiles. So that was a lot of work to put into that. And so we're celebrating that. It's done. It's out in the world. It's ready for you to dive into all of the latest content.
The reason the Passion Profile short course exists and the reason passion profiles to exist, honestly, is we want working to feel more like living. We don't want your work experience to feel like it's so opposed to your life, as if you're only living when you're not working. And do I think that the system needs to change? Absolutely. How many episodes have you heard us rail against the system? System's kind of broken. I'm not advocating that we just accept the flaws in the system and that if something's wrong with how you feel about your work, it must be something that's wrong with you. No. And unfortunately, most of us are going to have to keep working for the time being until such time as some massive systemic overhaul happens, which may not be within our lifetimes. We might have to still keep trading our time for money in order to keep surviving.
But on the flip side, fortunately, there are more options now for how you can work than there have been since all of human history. So you have a lot more freedom of choice in terms of how to approach work. So you can get a lot closer to aligning with how you were meant to work in the first place than back when if you were a woman, all you could do was be a secretary or a teacher or a nurse.
Yep.
Or you had to go work physically in a factory. You couldn't work from home. There's a lot more options now than there were. And so we can get closer. I'm not saying we've solved everything, because we have not solved all of the systems, but you can make choices independently and proactively to better align with your profile if you know what to ask for.
Yeah. And the fact that we have more choices means we're more overwhelmed.
True.
Which makes it sometimes harder to make those choices. So the short course is meant to help you get really clear about how you're wired. How do you value your time, your money, and your passion, your creativity? And then how is that going to express itself in work? And so many of you just stop doing it. So many of you keep bouncing from job to job, from thing to thing, thinking, oh, what's wrong with me that I don't like this? Or I just can't seem to be happy anywhere and this isn't working. And so much of it is not what you're doing. It's that you're doing it in a way that's so misaligned with how you're wired. And until you can get clear on how you are meant to be working, it does not pay to try to figure out what you want to do.
Job hopping is usually a sign that you keep looking for the wrong things, hoping that the next experience will make you feel how you were ultimately wanting to feel, but you weren't looking for you were mostly escaping the things you didn't like about the last place and not looking for what's going to really be a good fit for you. So that is what your passion profile is meant to illuminate. How do I know what the right things to be looking for are, so that when I do make a change, whether it's at my current job or a bigger change to a completely different job, or maybe to start my own thing and not even get a job, how do I approach it in a way that I'm not just kind of guessing and hoping that the next job will make me finally feel fulfilled and satisfied, and be able to go about it in a way where I can, if not guarantee, at least have a lot of confidence that this is going to be way better suited to what I want.
This might be a dicey example, but I love walking the line.
Let's do it. I have no idea what you're going to say.
This would be like if I downloaded Bumble again and had absolutely no filters. We're talking like men and women were coming through.
Sure.
And smokers and non-smokers. And like shorties and tallies.
All ages.
Every age. And I'm like, just swiping at random. And I'm like, well, I don't know. They're kind of cute. They look like they have a kind soul. And it's like, you're allowed to have filters. And the more clear you are about how you're wired, the better you can filter everything out there, so that the only choices available to you are the ones that actually align best. Like much love to all of the women in the world, but I don't want to have a romantic relationship with you. I wish I did. It would be a lot easier, but I don't. So you got to go. And bye-bye to the smokers. It's not happening. And goodbye to you if you're super old. No, I'm not going to date someone 20 years older than me, nor am I going to date someone 10 years younger than me. It's not going to happen. The more I am clear about how I'm wired, both the surface level stuff and the deeper values, the closer and closer and closer I can get to true alignment. And so then we can have a fulfilling relationship. And that can be true in romance, and it can be true in work and your career as well. But so many of us think, what am I doing wrong that I keep, swiping job-wise, or I keep changing jobs? And it's like, we haven't built any of that internal filtration system that we need. We don't have nearly enough self-awareness to be clear on, is this actually going to work for me? Or do I just think this should work for me?
Mm-hmm. Without discernment and clear boundaries for what you're looking for, you end up just being completely reactive.
Yeah.
So with your dating example, if you go out with somebody and it didn't work out, you might be like, well, they were a banker, and so maybe I need somebody completely different. I need a poet next time, right? I need somebody who's just the polar opposite of that. I'm going to react.
I'm going to go date a farmer.
Right.
As if, first of all, as if your profession says anything about your values or your personality, which it doesn't.
Exactly. You're looking for the wrong things. We do the same thing with work.
Yeah.
So I was working for a big company and that I didn't like how I felt there. So I need to go to a really tiny company. Are you even looking for the right thing?
Right. Who's to say size matters?
Exactly. So that when you're reactive, you're often reacting to something that's not at the core of what you were really looking for. It's just the easiest thing to pinpoint. And then you don't understand why the reverse of that is still not it. Then it makes you feel like maybe there is something wrong with me. No, you're not honing in on what really matters to you. That's why your profile is so helpful, because we're kind of just giving that to you. You take the quiz and you answer some questions that get to the core of your values around work. And then we're going to give you a big billboard that says, here's what you need to be looking for. Here's what's really important to you. So you're not reacting to things that are not substantial or not at the core of what's missing, what you're craving the most.
So, okay. We will come back to the short course at the end, but this episode is going to give you a really good taste of what's in there and what we can do once we understand our profiles. So we have broken down, according to each of the 4 main profiles, 3 questions that you can reflect on and ask yourself when you are in a situation where you might be job searching, or maybe, again, you can tweak these and apply them to a situation where maybe you're not looking to switch jobs, but you need to think about how I can change up how I'm working, and maybe ask some tough questions, advocate for myself, stand up for myself, and ask for something to be different so that I can get closer to a situation that aligns with who I am and how I am wired. This came about because I had a coaching session a few weeks ago with a client, and we came up, she was a thriver, and we came up with these questions for her. And she's like, this is going to be so helpful for me as I'm thinking about as she's job searching and thinking about making a big career transition. So I was like, we got to do this for everybody.
Think about these as filtering questions. So if you're looking for possibilities, maybe you actually have a job description in front of you and you're trying to evaluate, is this going to be a good fit for me? Or maybe you want to get back into job searching, and so you're trying to figure out, what should I be looking for? Doesn't matter what stage you're in. These are questions for you to reflect on, to filter out anything that's really not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Based on your profile.
Didn't you do this with someone recently?
I talked to somebody who had taken our short course who did this for herself.
Oh, she didn't even have these questions.
She didn't even have these questions yet because we hadn't announced it. This is before this podcast episode came out. But she recently went through the short course, and I talked to her. We had a session afterward, and she told me that she's been job hopping, like so many people have for the past year or two. And each job was kind of a reaction from
the last one,
what she didn't like about the last one. And she was finally wanting to find something she could settle into. And so she had 2 job opportunities. 2 job offers in front of her. And she used what she learned about herself and her profile in the short course to ask them some questions, first of all, to get really clear on, what is this really going to be like?
Can you meet my needs?
And then she reflected on that before making her decision. And she said a previous version of her would have chosen the other one, because it was more,
it looked better, it was
more
on paper,
impressive. Exactly. And people around her were like, ooh, that you got that.
That
job.
Sounds good. You would like that because you're good at that, as if that's going to help her feel fulfilled by the work.
But everything she learned about the other job was way more aligned with her profile and what she really wanted. And so she went with that one. And when I talked to her, she had just started and she was super excited about the possibilities there. So
yes, we love to see it.
We love to see it. If you are feeling stuck, I'm telling you, this is why we call passion profiles the best first step. Yeah. It is so clarifying to help you just crowd out all of the noise and hone in on, this is what I am looking for. This is what I want.
Yes. Okay. Again, these questions are really good. I think that the way we could sum this up is, does this job or environment have the ability to meet my needs? based on how I'm wired. And here are like the top questions to ask based on your passion profile to see if your needs can in fact get met at this job or in that company. Okay.
So we're going to start with Firestarter.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are like, what is a Firestarter?
We're not going to go into like the deep descriptions of all four because we have other episodes where we've done that.
We've done that multiple times before, but just so you can kind of follow along, the one thing you really need to know about Firestarters is their absolute top value is freedom. They need freedom and independence in everything. How much they're working, how much they're making, where they're working, how they're working, all of that has to get back to a giant sense of personal freedom.
Okay.
So with that in mind,
yes,
the first question that is important for you to ask and reflect on as a Firestarter is, how much can I maximize independence and leadership in whatever role I'm looking into?
And that doesn't just have to be a role. As a Firestarter, you might be looking to build your own business.
That might be the maximum version of leadership and independence.
But even sometimes when you're building your own business, who knows? You might have two ideas and one would require a business partner and one doesn't. Depending on how much of a Firestarter you really are, you might actually chafe at having someone you have to make all the decisions with. So how can I maximize my need for independence and leadership is a really good question. Whether you're building your own business or whether you're maybe you're a Firestarter who's looking to transition out of full-time work, but you need a bridge job. This is a great question. Like, I do not want anyone breathing down my neck. I don't want them telling me where to be and when to be. I basically want someone to be like, here's your job, do it. I'm not going to check on you unless you have a question. I trust you to do it. I'm not going to like force you to be in a million meetings every week. Like, maximum freedom and flexibility and independence and autonomy is the vibe.
Next question. If you are going to be working for somebody else's company, which again, Firestarters love freedom. They might feel drawn to starting their own business, but some of them like they like being in a company. They just need it to be very particular to make sure that they can have all the freedom that they want.
Or they need to be there for the time being.
Yep. So if you need to be working someplace for the time being, or you could see doing it for the long haul in the right place, you have to ask yourself, how bought into the mission of this company do I personally feel?
Or the role itself.
Because if you're not bought in to what you're doing, you're gonna rebel against it almost instantaneously.
Now, I know that a lot of you are listening, and regardless of your profile, you might be like, well, these are important questions for everyone to ask. And I'm not saying these aren't relevant to other people. We're saying if you are a Firestarter, this is critical. If you are a Thriver, for example, you might be able to get away with being not that bought into the mission and still be able to tolerate it for a while.
That would not even meet my top 20 list of questions for a Thriver. It's in our top 3 for Firestarters for a reason.
Right. Yeah, because they chafe so hard against anything that they're not really fueled by and excited about, that if they do not feel a genuine passion or desire or interest in the mission, it will be very torturous for them to have to work there.
Third question, and this is particularly for Firestarters who know that they do want to create their own business or something or other, but in the meantime, they've got to be working at maybe a more traditional or full-time job. And they're trying to ask, what is the right kind of job to support this bigger goal that I ultimately have? You have to ask yourself, how much energy is this job going to potentially take away from my venture that I want to start?
It's so important if you have larger aspirations as a Firestarter to pick a role or job strategically that is going to support your desire to do your own thing rather than detract from the time and energy you need to do that thing. If it is a job that may pay you a lot, but it's so demanding that you're so exhausted and you never have time to work on anything, a job that might pay you a little bit less, but is like super chill and leaves you with a ton of free time might actually be a net positive for you.
Or if you're doing some kind of work that you don't really care about and it drains your energy to be so disinterested in what you're doing, that is not going to give you the energy at the end of the day to work on your stuff. Versus if you're doing some kind of work that maybe is in service to your bigger mission, you're learning something that you could apply to your new venture. So it kind of gives you energy because you feel like you're making progress based on what you're learning at the job. That might be a really good fit for a fire starter because it all feels like it's in service to your mission in the end.
Okay, those have been your fire starter questions. Go back and listen to that and write them down. If you are any of these profiles or a mix, jot down notes about the top 3 questions for each and use them. We like to be useful. Okay, now this next section, there's a change you guys are going to note immediately, which is that normally we would say this is the tribe member section. And guess what? We renamed this profile. Some of you are going to have feelings about this. And that's fine.
That's okay.
You can have whatever feelings you need to have about it. But we have decided to rename it because we like the name collaborator better. I think it rolls off the tongue better. It also is a better descriptor of what they really value and what the core theme of these people tend to be.
It's also a bit more, it shows more of the passion and the interactivity, whereas tribe member felt a little bit more passive. And collaborators are not passive. They're not a passive bunch.
No,
they have a lot of energy and a lot of passion. And we wanted to show that in the name of the profile.
So if you were a tribe member, you are now a collaborator. I don't care what you call yourself. Identify how you want. But if you take the quiz and you get collaborator, don't be surprised. That's what it is now. Okay, so their top value is connection. These are the type of people who care less about what they're doing to a point and much more about who they're doing it with.
And why they're doing it in the end. Who are they helping?
Yeah. So to that point, the very first question, and these are in no particular order, all of these are important, but the first question is, how much of an impact will this job allow me to have? They value impact so much. Like, I want to be able to see my work's results. Like, and it doesn't have to be tangible. Some people really like results that they can measure. Are you someone who resonates with that as a collaborator? Like, do you like to see metrics of, wow, I impacted this many people's lives this year, or we raised this much money? That's okay. You're allowed to like metrics. Sometimes it's more of a feeling. You just want to be able to have a role where you can really see and feel that you have made a positive difference in whatever your function is or whatever the mission of the company is. If you cannot see the point, or if you cannot see or measure your impact as a collaborator, you are going to be very, I think, depressed very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Very disenchanted.
Yeah.
Because collaborators are so people oriented, you also have got to ask yourself, how excited am I about the people that I would get to work with and the culture that I would be a part of?
Doesn't matter if the job sounds really snazzy. Do not be distracted by how cool the job sounds. You must ask about the people and the culture.
This is one of the questions that the person I just talked about who took the short course and just took that job offer had to ask. She's a collaborator. And she had worked in a lot of jobs where she was the only one who did her role on the whole team. So she felt pretty alone. She didn't really have anybody to talk to about her work or brainstorm with. And that was really isolating. If you're a collaborator, you got to have people. You got to work with great people who get you, who you feel like we're in this thing together, how I can bounce ideas off of, and be in a culture where you feel really supported. If not, you are going to get really sad and burnt out quickly.
Yeah. And you'll be able to weather the ups and downs of work so much better when you really like the people and you care about the mission and the culture.
And again, to some degree, this is important to everybody.
Of course, healthy culture is important for everybody, but it's like mission critical for a collaborator. Like, your body's going to reject this organ if you try to put it in. Whereas another body might accept it. Yours, nope, not going to do it. Bye-bye.
Yep. Okay. You also need to ask, what could get in the way or what could distract from you being able to do the work that you actually care to do? So even if you feel like on the whole that my team that I'd be part of is having a big impact and I love the team, but I end up having to do all this other busy work, or I end up having to focus on all these different areas, and it pulls me away from the work that I really love or that is the most impactful, that's going to get frustrating to you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
what could get in the way that pulls you away and detracts, which for some of you might mean things like running your own business. You might have to wear too many hats and you're focused on so many moving pieces of the business, and you get pulled away from doing the real work that you love. Now, I'm not saying collaborators can't run businesses. I think every single profile can work for other people or work for themselves, but the way you do it has to be very aligned with what's most important to you for your profile.
Collaborators don't like busy work.
Mm-mm.
I don't think most people really enjoy busy work. But again, collaborators have a much, I think, lower tolerance for it because of their need for impact. So you want to ask, I think, how much time, and this is a great question in an interview, like what percentage of my time is actually going to be spent on doing like mission critical things, and how much of it is going to be like administrative or busy work or red tape or bureaucracy? Those are important questions. Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes we don't think to ask that. It's not always obvious, but that will be a huge thing that will detract from your ability to enjoy your work. Okay. Thrivers.
So for thrivers, high level, most important to thrivers, they got to enjoy what they're doing. They got to have I always say the formula for a happy thriver: high fun and enjoyment, low pressure.
Yeah. So their top value sort of is balance.
Yes. So with that in mind, they are looking for something quite a bit different from fire starters and collaborators. And one of the most important questions for them to ask: what is going to support my ideal lifestyle?
Yes. Because as a thriver, unlike any of the other profiles, you do not need and often do not want your job and your passion, AKA the thing you do to make money and the thing you do because you enjoy it. You don't want them to be the same. A lot of thrivers resonate with wanting their job to be their sugar daddy. It's the thing that allows them and enables them to do what they really care to do. And it doesn't even have to be a specific hobby. Keep in mind, a lot of thrivers just really like living life.
And they want their job to support that.
And so they want a lot of
freedom.
They want a lot of free time to do with whatever they please. So it doesn't have to be like to support my photography hobby or my horseback riding hobby. It can be. It does not have to be. So that means the only reason you are working as a thriver is to fund your lifestyle. So if you want to travel, you got to have a job that supports your passion for travel. You cannot have a job that detracts from your ability to live life.
And you want your job, while in the time you're there, to not completely drain you or stress you out so much that you can't enjoy your lifestyle. So it's funding it, but it's also the kind of environment that
not going to drain you,
that is not going to drain you, and that you can leave and feel like, okay, that was a good use of my time. And now I get to go do what I really want to do.
Which leads perfectly into our second question for thrivers, which is, what would I feel content contributing to? Now, when I was originally brainstorming this list with my client who's a thriver, she said, what would I feel excited contributing to? And I said, I'm going to dial that back. And I was like, I'm going to say content. And I'm saying that very on purpose, because as a thriver, because work is not as important to you as some of the other profiles, you don't actually need the bar to be excitement. The bar is allowed to be contentment. Like, you know what? I'm fine contributing to this. Like, it's not like saving the world, but it's pretty good. Mm-hmm. That's actually usually fine for a thriver. Now, for a collaborator, that would probably break their heart a little bit. Mm-hmm. But that's not you, so you don't have to worry about that. So contentment, you don't have to be looking for passion. You don't even have to be looking for excitement. You can be looking for ease.
Again, excitement, passion, those are things that you want to do without having to tie them to money.
Yeah.
You want all the rest of your time to be on the things that really do excite you, that make you feel most alive. If you had to do those things for money, it would kind of kill the joy of it for you as a thriver. And again, I said before, low pressure is critical for thrivers when it comes to their work. So make sure you're asking yourself, what job and work environment will be low pressure enough for me to thrive?
Yes. Question number 3 is that. What environment will be low pressure enough? You do not want a job that's like, you have to wear 15 hats and we work on really fast, tight deadlines. Nope. Nope.
We pitch in and work on the weekend sometimes if we got to get a big deadline done.
Bye.
We need you to be available and on call after work hours in case something critical comes in. Nope.
We monitor your status on Microsoft Teams.
You have big quotas to meet, and if you don't meet them, bad things happen. Oh my God.
No, we don't do that. Nothing that's going to put you under the gun or make you feel super pressury is going to help you thrive.
Now, nobody likes to feel super stressed at work.
Or monitored.
But to some degree, some people and some profiles kind of like a little bit of pressure. It challenges them. It pushes them to grow and learn.
Like if you're a fire starter and you might be on a sales team, you kind of like the pressure of that quota of like, ooh, let's see if I can hit it this month and just get my bonus. For a thriver, you might be having a panic attack.
Yep. So know that about yourself and don't push yourself too hard.
It's totally okay. All right. Side hustlers. Their top value is variety. They love variety. They love to be stimulated. They hate being bored. They hate FOMO.
We just said a thriver does not want to wear 15 hats. A side hustler is like, give me all the hats. I'll take every single one of those hats.
I am Moira Rose with a wig wall. That is them.
I love that visual. If you ask a side hustler to pick one hat, that would make them really sad. So we want side hustlers to express all of their many passions. These are our multi-passionate Energizer bunny types who just have a lot they want to explore and they don't want to be limited.
So that being said, one of the first questions you can ask yourself as a side hustler is, what will support my need for variety and stimulation?
Without variety and stimulation, a side hustler is going to get so bored so quickly.
Yeah.
And they're just gonna quit. They're just gonna kind of impulsively quit. Like, I can't handle this. This is too much. Or they're just gonna get really disengaged and kind of depressed. Because they thrive on every day being a little bit different.
Yeah. You don't want it. They don't like one note. They like a symphony.
Whereas a thriver might kind of like knowing what's going to happen each day.
Some thrivers, might actually prefer things to be very predictable and not like crazy stimulating. It's too much. That's okay.
So along those lines, a side hustler needs variety in their day-to-day, but they also need to ask themselves, what opportunities for longer term growth are available? So even if you like the day-to-day wearing 15 different hats, you want to know, where am I going to grow? What are what bigger changes can I make within myself, within the organization, for me to want to stay here longer? Because otherwise, side hustlers, they are known to job hop more quickly than some of the other profiles because they get bored. So you are someone who really values growth. So you want to make sure that there is growth potential in whatever next job you go into.
You're also obviously allowed to ask that if you're another profile.
Sure.
You're allowed to value long-term growth, of course. But again, these are like, if we had to pick only 3 for each profile, these are the ones we want you to make sure you're asking yourself, or you're asking other people. What are the opportunities here for long-term growth? Okay. And last question for side hustlers is, how open is the work culture to new ideas?
Because you have them.
Yeah, you got a lot of them. And you really hate when people shut you down. And you want there to be a space where it's like you're allowed to just throw stuff at the wall and brainstorm and like, let's try that. If it's very stuffy and there's not any openness to change or new ideas, or, hey, let's just do something differently this month and see what happens, you are going to get suffocated very quickly.
And you're going to feel like nobody gets you. You're going to feel really frustrated by the fact that they just do things where they've always done things. And you're like, but what about this? And what about that? There are work cultures where that is not only accepted, that is encouraged. And that is the kind of a place a side hustler would be really happy. We want to hear your ideas. We want to try new things. We want to innovate quickly and grow. So bring us all your ideas. that is like a ideal job description for a side hustler. Wear a bunch of hats, have a bunch of ideas, grow in any direction you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a side hustler who actually wants to stick around for a while.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And thus concludes our list. Our list of lists. What did you guys think? I hope that helps. And it's a little wee taste of, I think, what you could do for yourself if you understand your passion profile. Like, deeply understand it. It's so helpful at helping you steer in the right direction.
Yes. If you have been feeling perpetually stuck, frustrated, you're like, I know that I could be doing more, or I know that I could be working in a way that doesn't drain my soul.
Or maybe I could be doing less.
Or maybe I could be doing less, right?
But more, something that matters more to me.
And you just like, I don't even know where to start. I really don't even know what to try to look for.
What's wrong, how to diagnose what's going on here.
Again, this list we just gave you is the very, very teeniest starting step, right? So at least here are a few things to be looking for that's going to get you closer. But if you are really ready to make some change, maybe you're ready to make a change within your job. You're like, I know that I could be advocating more for myself. I just don't even know what to ask for. I don't even know what I want. I don't even know how to have those conversations. Or maybe you're like, it's not this job. Promise you, I need a new one. It's hard to make the next step if you don't really know what you're looking for. And that's what we want to help you clarify is, how do I understand within myself and then articulate to other people what it is I'm looking for so that I can make moves to change my situation in small ways or in dramatic ways so that I feel much more like myself at work. That's our goal.
Yeah. So if you're new and you haven't ever done anything with us before, other than listen to the podcast, this is such a good opportunity. I mean, I'm gassing myself up right now, but it's just true. Save $300 on the short course for the next week. It's 5-ish hours. You can just sit down and like clear your schedule for the day, treat it like a day-long workshop with yourself, do it in one day. You could totally make that happen. If not, you can pace yourself. You have forever access to it. Like, people literally still log in, and it's been like 7 years since they logged in. And so they'll email us and be like, hi, I don't know how to log in anymore. Guess what? They can still redo it after that long. We love it. Come back anytime. There's some really cool bonuses now, including a list of jobs, example jobs, according to Passion Profile, to get your ideas churning, which we have never actually really deeply talked about before, but we decided to go there and give you some concrete examples that can help you start a search, but are not limiting you in any way, opening up your mind and new possibilities. It's not overwhelming. That is the goal. I want people to be able to start it and finish it. I don't want this to be one more thing that you can't finish.
It is. We've really tried. And if you've listened to the podcast for a while, you know, Rachel and I, we can talk, man. We can go on and on.
Oh, God.
We've really tried to be concise and give you like what really matters, what is going to make the biggest impact so that you can get through the course fairly quickly, but it's jam-packed with so much of what you really actually need to know and what you need to do in order to make the changes that you know you want to make.
Yeah, to get unstuck, to get moving on finding career direction, to, I would say, start healing from burnout, because so much of your burnout is coming from working in a way that's just totally misaligned with how you're wired. And stop spinning your wheels and overanalyzing everything. Like, you are not making progress when you're just stuck up in your head. I want to get you out of your head and moving again. That is the goal.
One of the things we say in the course is that your passion profile, it's your home base. So once you have a clear idea of what it is you're looking for, even when life starts to throw you curveballs or you start to go back into your old ways of panicking about things, you can keep coming back to your profile and you can keep coming back to the course to remind yourself, oh yeah, this is what really matters. This is what I really want.
Like even I do this sometimes because there are times when I'm having an existential crisis and I'm like, maybe I should just quit everything and go back to grad school. And then I think about my values as like a fire thriver type person. And I'm like, I don't want to do that though. That doesn't align with anything that I actually want. And it's not really me. But like, it's so easy to follow shiny objects or to get an idea in your head and think, well, that sounds fun, but not realize, oh, it's totally misaligned with what actually makes me happy and how I actually tick, that I'm going to really regret that. Like, I would like to cut down on regret.
Yes, please.
So that's a big goal too of this course. And not just a goal, I think it succeeds in doing that. So, okay, again, one more week. You can link for the courses in the show notes, or you can just go to clarityonfire.com. You can go to our Work With Us tab and drop down to the short course and you can read all about it. There's a whole lot of info on the short course page if you want it. And you can also just sign up there and you don't need a code.
Yep. We wanted to make it really easy for you. There's no code to remember. There's no special links. Just go to the normal short course page of our website and it is already discounted for you for one more week.
Okay. And then you know what? It's still available after that. It's just back to its normal price. So just know that. And hey, if you don't need it, please share it with someone who you think might.
Yeah, we would appreciate that and they would appreciate that.
Yeah,
Win-win.
someone who keeps annoying you with their career problems, but you don't know how to help them.
Here, go check this out.
Truly, just outsource it to us. We would be happy to help them. So, and there's a community, by the way, where once you join the short course, you can join our free course community where you can ask questions and share your experience or get answers and feedback from me and Kristen.
And you have access to that indefinitely. It's not just like right when you're going through it, you can come back later and give us updates or ask questions that come up a year from now or longer. So,
and people who do the short course, we do allow them to take some money off of one-on-one coaching later on if they do want to do coaching at some point. So there's a lot of benefit to doing the short course. But first and foremost, that if you're stuck, it can really help jumpstart you out of it. Oh, jumpstart. That's funny. My car battery died twice on Monday and I had to have people randomly jumpstart it. Thank God that they were able to help me.
Well, we cannot help jumpstart your car battery. I'm not a car mechanic.
I'm surprised I was able to do it myself. I had to follow Wikipedia instructions to make sure I didn't electrocute myself.
That you managed that.
It's really like very easy, Kristen.
I'm sure I could also watch a YouTube video and figure it out. I feel way more comfortable helping people jumpstart their life.
Than
weirdly, helping people jumpstart their car.
Which is actually a lot harder.
It's way harder.
Way harder, but I'm better at it.
I feel way more confident in that.
Okay. Well, we would love to help you if this is something that you feel you need. And again, this promo is only going on for the next week, but because you can access it at any time, if it's not a good time for you to actually dive in, but you want to take advantage of the discount, feel free to sign up and then make a date for yourself to do it next month or something whenever you're not on vacation or
you are on vacation.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Like,
yep. When it's better timing for you, you have access indefinitely, but this way you save $300.
Yeah. Okay. This has been fun. I liked this episode. I'll try to put some links in the show notes too with like other passion profile-y type episodes so that if you are new and you want to, maybe you've taken the quiz, but you don't know much about the other types, you can go listen to other podcast episodes about them if you want.
Okay. Well, we will see some of you in the Passion Profile short course, and we will see all of you next week.
Every single one of you.
I hope you all come back next week to hear our expert interview.
With Dr. Amy Johnson. She is an expert on making change without force or willpower.
Love that.
It sounds great, doesn't it? Come back to hear more. Okay. Bye.
Bye.